Welcome to Parev-TV. Once again, we come to you with an exciting program. This one is a very special one as we are joined by Mr. Hagop Der Khatchadurian from Montreal. Mr. Der Khatchadurian is the ARF Bureau Chairman, most high-ranking Armenian organization, and that is really representing a large portion, if not the whole diaspora. We are going to discuss the horrific explosion that took place a few days ago in Beirut. We express our condolences to the many people who died. And all this is happening on the heels of a health crisis as well as an economic crisis, increasing the hardships already felt by so many. Hundreds of thousands of Armenians and people in Lebanon suffer economic and food security. They are at risk of immediate action that needs to be taken to help people survive the tragedy and recover from it. Armenians are very much aware of what's happening. And I know, Mr. Der Khatchadurian, you have a 360-degree view of the Armenian diaspora and nation as a whole, and you are very, very well qualified to give us some direction, some insight as to where we are and what can be done by the diaspora to help our brethren in Lebanon. And thank you again for connecting with us, for giving the time from your busy schedule to share your opinions with the public. Thank you again. Yes.
Thank you also for having me, and it will be my pleasure to describe a bit what is happening in Lebanon, to our brothers and sisters there. And of course, it's a tragedy that has compounded the situation. As you mentioned, this is like the triple crown of tragedies, unfortunately. Since October of last year, Lebanon has been going through an economic crisis that has devastated the nation. Even during the civil war of 1975 to 1990, the extent of the economic collapse was not to this level. The Lebanese pound has deteriorated significantly, which has created havoc with the population's ability to even buy the basic necessities of life. Then it was followed by the health crisis, the coronavirus issue, COVID-19, that we all face throughout the world. But it hit particularly strong in Lebanon because it had been weakened economically as well. And now the tragedy of this explosion that happened at the port of Beirut, in which we had about a dozen Armenian lives lost, over a total of about 150 Lebanese who had lost their lives, and also thousands of people, actually hundreds of thousands of people that are either homeless or have been displaced because of the tremendously huge explosion that sent shockwaves in all the regions of Lebanon that are inhabited by Armenians. And it was truly shocking to realize the extent of the damage caused and also the extent of the reconstruction that is needed. Our hearts go out to those who have perished, the deepest sympathies to their relatives and friends. And of course, we are steadfastly standing beside our brothers and sisters that have been wounded, and we have many in the Armenian community that have been wounded, especially those also who have lost their homes and are now practically homeless. And thankfully, because of the Middle Eastern hospitality that our people has in that region, they have been sheltered by relatives and friends until they can go back to their own homes. There is also extensive damage to the national institutions that we have, Armenian institutions, whether it be churches, Armenian cultural centers, agums, and the schools particularly. So all of that present us with a new challenge that besides the aid that we have been extending throughout the diaspora and even from Armenia and Artsakh for the economic crisis and the COVID crisis that we had started earlier in the year, and we had been conducting it all the way up to July. Now, of course, we need a second wave of help, much larger in scope, in order to bring back the vitality, in order to bring back the central role that Lebanese Armenians play, not only in the diaspora, but in Armenian national affairs. We are with Lebanon. We are strongly with our Angers, with our compatriots, with our friends, relatives. Many people have relatives in Lebanon, and with any and all Armenians who need our help. The ARF, Hagop Der Khatchadurian, has already organized an appeal. Work started weeks ago. It has intensified now. We are very happy that Lebanon established a joint committee to oversee the distribution of that aid, with priorities being established, which we can discuss if there is any need to go into the details. But it is indeed our pleasure to say that a committee has been formed under the auspices of the Presidency of Lebanon, in which all communities are represented, all religious organizations, the three political parties, the AGBU, the ARS, and all benevolent associations as well. And that joint committee is going to supervise the distribution of aid that is now flowing into Lebanon. And we hope that it will continue to flow for the weeks and months ahead.
Mr. Der Khatchadurian, what is the most important help they need now on the ground? Because many people, from what I hear, are very, very desperate. And how easy is it for us to transfer the help from the diaspora to Lebanon? Are the channels open for us to reach these people?
Yes, and we are actually telling our communities worldwide that their help at this stage is financial in nature, because it is normal that anybody who has somebody who knows somebody in Lebanon is trying to do something within his or her means. But we have to concentrate the effort, and it has to be financial in nature, because they know what their requirements are, they know what their needs are. So we shouldn't be sending anything which we think is important for them, because it's the Lebanese Armenian community that is going to decide on their priorities. So far, they have set the priorities as follows. The first and absolute need at this stage is the reconstruction of the homes, especially for those who have lost their homes, mostly apartments that have collapsed, and those are unlivable. So the first priority is to start immediate reconstruction on those efforts, so that the families I just mentioned who had sheltered with family, friends, or even members of community that don't know them but have opened their hearts and their homes to them, those people have to go back to their homes in a safe and sound environment. So that is definitely the first priority. Of course, hand in hand with this first priority goes the help we have to provide with the families of those who have perished. And I am happy to say that we have already received commitments by some influential Armenians from Armenia, as well as the diaspora, who have pledged financial support to those families who have lost members. Because sometimes losing a member in Lebanon means that that family will be in dire situations, even worse than they had been in the economic crisis. So this is priority number one. Reconstruction and help for those who perished. The second priority, of course, is the reconstruction of the national structures, as we call them, Askayin Galutsner. That would be, of course, the churches, the clubs, the Armenian centers, the cultural associations, because it will bring back vitality to the Armenian existence in Lebanon. We don't want it to be just survival, because they were not only surviving per se, they were actually contributing to the well-being of the diaspora and Armenia in general, and we'd like them to retake that role as soon as possible. So the second priority will be the reconstruction efforts, physical reconstruction efforts of the centers, of the churches, of the clubs, and of course anything that has to do with the schools, all schools in Lebanon, all schools of Armenian heritage, whether it be Gemaran, the national schools as we call them, Askayin Vajarander, or the private schools that function in Lebanon. We are lucky in Lebanon that we have a multitude of Armenian day schools which provide the future leadership of the Armenian community, not just of Lebanon, but in the diaspora and Armenia as well.
you speak about the support from Armenia. How much of coordinated effort is there? Is Armenian diaspora working together in supporting and lending support to Lebanon? Is there any coordinated effort?
There is a coordinator, especially in the way to provide support. As you know, people from Armenia are visiting Lebanon as we speak this weekend. So that is a good gesture. A flight has been sent to the people of Lebanon from the people of Armenia, not just to Armenians in Lebanon, but to the people of Lebanon, which will be followed by plane loads of needed equipment, needed nutrition for the Armenian community that is going to be sent from Armenia and Artsakh. So there will be 3 flights, one after the other, in the next few days. And that is a concrete measure of the help that our fatherland, whether it's Armenia or Artsakh, is providing. Secondly, we have established 2 major accounts where we will centralize all the donations. One is by the Catholicos ARF Cilicia, the first, where Alam has established an account in Geneva, because as you know, the economic crisis also has decimated the bank system in Lebanon. Absolutely. So the circulation of dollars and the aid that we provide is very difficult to convert at reasonable rates, which is a sad consequence of what they have been going through. So the account has been opened in Geneva, and that account is a central account, which will be under the supervision of the joint committee that I just mentioned, working under the auspices of the prelacy and the 3 political parties, the 3 religious denominations, and the benevolent associations and the relief associations. So that is one avenue. And the second avenue is the account that has been opened up by the Hayastan Hamayegagan Himnatram, the All Armenia Fund. Of course, there has been also appeal to Armenians in Armenia, Artsakh, Javakh, or wherever in the region of Armenia and in the immediate neighborhood to contribute to the All Armenia Fund. So those are the 2 major sources that we are encouraging people to donate, because those funds are going to be centralized. It will serve the priorities established by the Lebanese leadership, and there will be full accountability afterwards as to how they will spend in the areas of priorities that I discussed. The construction efforts, compensation for the family of those who perished, and the reconstruction of the national structure, the buildings, the schools, and the hopefully to bring back everyday life to the level it was before the blast.
Mr. Der Khatchadurian, let me just mention the fact that the Christian population, not only Armenian population, has been decimated in the Middle East. We all know Armenians are leaving. We know the young people are looking for opportunities in America, in Canada, or wherever they can go. Nowadays, they even go to Sweden, to Denmark, to Spain. My question to you is that we lost a lot of people during the civil war in Lebanon. And this seems to be another excuse for people to leave the area. Now, what choices do they have? And what do you encourage the local people to do? Many people, including myself, and I'm sure you would say, we would like them to stay in Lebanon as much as possible. But if there are people who want to move, would you encourage them to move to the West, or can Armenia handle that migration or exodus?
Of course, for Khatchadurian, the question of repatriation in Armenia is a priority. We have had discussions with the government of Armenia regarding this issue, not only with this government, but with previous governments. And we have said that historically, since the independence of Armenia, this matter has to be taken seriously. And what we mean by seriously is that it should not be just an emotional appeal where we actually encourage people who go there, and because of myriad of reasons, they might fail, and that actually sours them on the concept of the fatherland. So we have told them that it has to be a state policy. It has to be done by state structures. We, of course, Khatchadurian will help in every means possible. But this has to be a sustainable program that not only encourages people to choose Armenia as a destination whenever they decide to leave any country, whether it's from the Middle East or even from the West. I mean, we have many people, for example, from Canada or the US that have migrated to Armenia. But fortunately for them, they have the means usually of being able to fall on their feet in Armenia. But many people from the Middle East might not be able to. So it has to be a serious effort. It has to be planned, and all the resources have to be supplied by the state, as well as the international appeal to the diaspora if need be. But the diaspora is seeking to have a plan, a detailed plan of what it means to have Armenians brought to Armenia, where we can wholeheartedly encourage everybody to jump in, as some other countries that you know of have done successfully in the past, of increasing their populations by making an appeal to their diasporas to come back home. And that is definitely a priority for us. But we have to be careful. This is not and cannot be a reactionary issue that whenever there is some kind of a crisis, we suddenly think of it. That is not the way to do it. As you said, we also encourage that at this stage, Lebanese Armenians should concentrate on the reconstruction efforts that is going on, and we are going to help them to the maximum possible ways that we can. That is indeed a must, because Lebanon is not only a historic Armenian community, it has a central role in the diaspora. And as you probably know, most of the leadership of the Armenian community throughout the world, even in the further reaches of the diaspora, sometimes have Lebanese, Syrian, or Middle Eastern roots. So it was a successful model of not only Haya Bahbanum, keeping Armenians Armenian, but also Haya Gerdum, constructing an Armenian identity of one nation and one struggle. And as such, we would like Lebanon to keep that role. So yes, to Hayren Atartutyun, to the repatriation in general, but to a sustainable, to a clear plan with resources available, with an appeal to the international Armenian community if need be. But they will only move if there is something they can trust, that there is something that is written down to the last details, and also provides the means for Armenians that move to Armenia to be able to sustain themselves in Armenia. Having said that, in parallel, we encourage people from anywhere to go back home to Armenia. And as I said, mostly from the West. Fortunately, they have the means of going there and exist through the means that they have accumulated in the diaspora by having a home in Armenia and living there either fully or partially. But from areas of the world where the migrants or the immigrants to Armenia need absolute state assistance, it has to be a serious effort. And we're willing to participate in coming up with any such program.
You know, a few minutes ago, you mentioned the Middle Eastern hospitality, which we all know about. A lot has changed since 1915, when the Armenians were welcomed to Lebanon. They were welcomed to Syria and contributed so beautifully to that community. My question is, things are changing now. We already know the political, economic, social problems that are taking place in Lebanon, especially. The Sunni-Shiite divide, the fact that the Turks are coming in with anti-Armenian programs and threats. The question is, if so much is being changed in Lebanon, are we still experiencing hospitality there? Or we have to be aware of the new dynamics that are in place?
You're absolutely right. That's the situation. The last, I would say, 30, 40 years has deteriorated for Christians in general in the Middle East. And we cannot hide behind the facts because the whole region is being emptied of its Christian population, and that is a serious concern. So in order to see what can be done, and in order to avert that situation, we have done a few things. First of all, we have encouraged Armenians in those historic communities to stay put and provided international help to them, whether it be political assistance or financial assistance. That is one aspect we've done. The second is to create international awareness. And in that, the high-touch committees that we have, the ANCA, for example, front, has always talked about in defense of Christians of the Middle East. And with many leaders of the administration and through successive administrations in the last 10, 15, 20 years, we have emphasized the point that this is a problem that is not going away. It is actually deteriorating, and the world cannot keep silent, and the world cannot remain inactive when they see that presence of many minorities, Christian, that date back to thousands of years sometimes, are suddenly changing, and as such, the Middle East is becoming a totally different arena. We have to be realistic, though. I mean, there are so many conflicts in the region that, unfortunately, many families, and not just Armenians, many families, whether Christian or even Muslim, are confronting the situation, and some are resilient and they want to fight, and they're staying and fighting in order to create a more just society in various countries of the Middle East. But some are giving out fight and leaving. And of course, those who leave from the Armenian community, those who decide to leave by themselves, we would like them to go to Armenia and nowhere else. That's why when you asked us previously whether Khatchadurian will encourage them to go to the West, to Sweden, to wherever, the answer is a categoric no. We would like them to go to Armenia, and we'd like the Armenian state to take this issue seriously and create the means for them to be able to stay and not just visit there as a station and then go to a country in the West.
Okay.
But the Middle Eastern hospitality as such is still there, yes, because it is part of the genetics of the various populations there, least of all the Armenians, and many others. And please keep in mind that some of the communities in the Middle East are not just a result of the genocide. Some of them were there many, many years, sometimes even over 1,000 years in the area. I mean, look at the community in Jerusalem. It dates back to the 6th, 7th century. The community in Aleppo, around Aleppo, I mean, we have institutions there that go back hundreds of years. So it is a presence in the region that even during the years of our first statehood, in the 6th, 7th, 8th centuries, were established in and around the Holy Lands. And then progressively in the other countries during the loss of Armenian statehood, it became rampant, and eventually the major communities solidified their presence and became active after the genocide. Those were the remnants of the genocide that were sent throughout the countries like Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Jordan, and Egypt.
We keep getting images of the situation in Lebanon. We keep seeing protests against the government. Paula Yakubian resigned, and we keep hearing and hearing and hearing. But what is very important for us to focus on and make sure we understand what is in the interest of Armenians of Lebanon?
First and foremost, please help your brothers and sisters in Lebanon. There has been many appeals to the American community, and the American community has always responded positively to aid to their brothers and sisters anywhere in the world. I mean, they have been traditionally strong supporters of Armenians in the Middle East. As you know, even those who grew up in Lebanon and Syria at the time, they had always benefactors from the USA who funded the schools, who funded their activities and actually contributed to the Armenians becoming known in the world and becoming international figures. So that debt of gratitude exists. The Middle Eastern Armenian communities know of the leading role that the American Armenian community has played. So now is another time for us to concentrate on that aid, which is of immediate concern. So immediately, I would say, please give and give generously, and give to any of the two accounts that you prefer, either the Catholicos account or the All Armenia Fund, but do not stay indifferent, do not be inert, and this is the time of most need, and our Lebanese brothers and sisters need us, so let's collectively make sure that that happens, and that they will feel, and not only feel, and see that they are not alone in this world. That is one priority. The second aspect, of course, is that we'd like to see in Armenia a strong state. There is a slogan that Khatchadurian uses in the last 10 years, which is Hazor Hayrenik, Hans Nadospuk. In order to establish a strong Armenia, you need a committed and engaged diaspora. Thank God that we do have an engaged diaspora. The organized diaspora throughout the world is now more than ever politicized, more than ever strong in its lobbying efforts, in its help to the fatherland. And as you know, the various activities that happened since the Davush incident in Armenia, the whole Armenian community worldwide was mobilized. Politically speaking, all the High Tat committees were in action. Physically, because of the demonstrations that happened, and also financially, because of the contributions that poured to Armenia to help those families that were hurt by those incidents. The second aspect of my appeal, if you would like, is we have to help Armenia through every means possible, regardless of who is in charge of Armenia, regardless of the authorities. The statehood of Armenia is of primary importance for Khatchadurian, and we have to stand steadfastly by the state of Armenia and make sure that it's a strong one that can survive in a region surrounded by enemies.